Okay, can
Uh,
everybody see my screen?
yes, much better.
Alright, let me start from the beginning. So my topic today is technological diversity in social media using Mojirade as a case study. And this is just an overview of what we're going to talk about. Redmore and the rise of digital technology. Going to talk about the character herself, Mojirade, Moji's diversity in social media, womanhood in the digital age, preparing for the future, and the conclusion. So just to start, just a quick intro. My name is Evie Oswankwe. I'm a 3D artist and I'm a co-founder and creative director at Redmur. And Redmore is a media tech company that focuses on empowering creatives and connecting communities. In a nutshell, what we do for brands is we offer them captivating virtual experiences, and I'll explain that further. So we have three major facets. We have virtual humans, virtual fashion, and virtual entertainment. The fun fact is Redmore actually started out as a virtual fashion brand. We wanted to be one of the bastions of digital fashion in Nigeria because there aren't many digital fashion brands or digital fashion houses in Nigeria. So we wanted to be one of the first to do that. And it's only when we got into virtual fashion that we saw that we could actually expand our reach. There was a lot more that we could do to offer not just Nigeria, but Africa as a whole. So virtual fashion is where we started, but we soon got into virtual entertainment. And you can imagine that as campaigns, like 3D campaigns for brands. An example of virtual entertainment is virtual events. For instance, the game Fortnite had a concert. The rapper Travis Scott had a concert in Fortnite. That was a virtual event, and players of the game were able to attend the concert live. So stuff like that are very new to the digital scene, but they are gaining a lot of popularity. The third facet is virtual humans. And virtual humans are pretty self-explanatory in basically they are 3D people and they can be used for so many different things. Their utility is very broad. And that brings me to our actual case study for today, Mojirade. So her name is Mojirade, but we also call her Moji, Momoji for short. She's Nigeria's first virtual influencer. And we put it that way because there are other Nigerian 3D humans, but she's the first Nigerian virtual influencer. Moji is 21. She's fun. She loves fashion and lifestyle. She loves culture, food, traveling, music. And she's very much part of the Gen Z crew. And she is 21 forever, so she doesn't age. And that's one of the benefits of her as a virtual influencer. The fact that she's like a bridge between the younger generation and brands today. And it makes her very versatile. It makes her able to seamlessly blend between generations. When the next generation arises, Gen Alpha, she's still going to be 21 and she's still going to be keeping up with the trends. So this is Mojirade. You can find her on Instagram, but those details will be given a little later. So how did we actually make her? It started with an idea. So I had started to create a character. I wanted to create a virtual character, not even an influencer, just a 3D character that would be African Nigerian because I am Nigerian. I had already created another one before this, and she doesn't really have any specific identity, but she wasn't Nigerian, and I wanted one that was very, very clearly Nigerian. And so I went online, I asked for names, I got suggested this name, and I started to create her. It started with the 3D pipeline. So the creation of the character like this involves the entire 3D pipeline. So the process can start from modeling to texturing, rigging, animating, and finally rendering. So this GIF over here is kind of like an example of how I textured Moji for a particular look. I think it's this exact look actually for this post. And you can see here, this is Moji in the 3D software that we use. We use a number of 3D software. This is how she looks in the scene. This is how the final render looked. And this just shows like the bare bones of the character when it was first being created. This is another final render. So the production process involves the entire 3D pipeline, which, like I said, involves modeling, texturing, rigging, animating, and rendering. And we have a few more things here and there. The hair involves grooming as well. I had to do that in the software called Maya. So it is quite intensive, but once the character was created, we're basically done with the bulk of it. So every time we have to make a new post, we don't have to do much anymore. We just have to pose her, create clothes for her, and render. So it's been really exciting. And since her creation, she's worked with a number of brands, number of Nigerian brands, especially. So here are some of Mojirade's collaborations. This one over here was a collaboration with another digital artist called Majestics Digital. She actually makes digital clothing. So we had a collaboration where Mojirade was to try on her clothes and just do like a little photo shoot kind of thing. This was a collaboration. The one in the middle was a collaboration with a Nigerian brand called Next Berries. And the one on the right was another collaboration with the same person from this first one. And um, yeah, it's very, we try to make it as detailed as possible. So we are very intent on working with brands both nationally and globally. But this year we focused on working with a lot of Nigerian brands, just to build communities because that's very important in the digital space. And so these are the three that we worked with this year. So apart from this, Mojirade has also been featured in a couple of publications and articles. So like we said, we partnered with Next Berries, and so they featured her. And actually, a fun fact, the post that we made with Next Berries was their most liked post ever on their Instagram. It had a lot of engagement, and that told us that virtual influencers are gaining a lot of attention. People are interested in what they see, especially when they see that it's not real. So it's interesting basically to the average Nigerian and to the average African and even globally. It's still a very new field. So it's very interesting to people. She's also been featured in The Nation magazine, which is a Nigerian newspaper, as well as Business Day and Kenga. These are all Nigerian platforms. So this is just an overview of where Mojirade was featured. And also she's gotten lots of engagement on her social media, just to tell you how well she's been doing. So we officially launched Mojirade, I think, at the end of 2021. And since then, we've had some trials and error. We've gone through a lot of trial and error trying to promote her and trying to create content, because the process of content creation it's a long road, learning how to create content quickly. Being a virtual influencer, it takes time and it takes a lot of resources. So it was a learning curve for us, which is why it took so long. But since then, she's gained a lot of traction. Her engagement is 27% higher than similar creators. She's had one successful media round and the three collaborations, as I showed previously. She's also appeared in Coindex and Vogue Business, and like I showed in the previous slide, has been featured in many media publications. So we're keeping a close eye on who is engaging with Mojirade, who her target audience mostly is. It's mostly female because she's a female. And a lot of people between the ages of 18 and 34 are very interested in her. And of course, our highest engagement comes from Nigeria, but we also have a couple of people from the United Kingdom and elsewhere. So Mojirade is quickly gaining traction, and the more we pump out content and continue to promote her, just like I'm doing now on this call, the more attention she will receive. So far she's doing well, and we have good high hopes for this coming year. As we start to gather more resources, we trust that Mojirade will do really well. So our business model for Mojirade means that she is quite flexible across different fields. So obviously her primary source of engagement comes from social media because that's where she's most active. So she posts on Instagram and all that. She posts on her Facebook as well. So a lot of people first meet Mojirade through Instagram and through other social media. But she can also be used for adverts. So people can reach out and ask to advertise something for them. She can feature in brand campaigns. Actually, a very popular virtual influencer, Lo Michaela, recently featured in a Coach campaign, the brand Coach. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't Lil Michaela, it was Emma Graham. Her name is Emma.Graham. She was featured in Coach. So, and even Lil Michaela has been featured in other ads by different brands like Gucci, Vogue, and Puma. So Mojirade can also be used she can be featured in music videos or campaigns or virtual events, as I previously said, and she can be used as a model for e-commerce. So she has a wide range of what her utility actually is. I like to say that virtual influencers are like real people without the drama of real people. So how is she actually diverse? I divided her diversity into two different sections: cultural diversity and digital diversity. Mojirade is important as a Nigerian because I feel like in many ways she changes or redefines the representation of the Black woman. And that is one of the things that we really were intent on doing, on representing Mojirade as a Nigerian woman who is proud to be Nigerian, but also is very bold, is very um, out there with her culture. She's not ashamed to show her culture. And we also tried to make her look like a Nigerian woman. You know, we added the facial features. We added a bit of hyperpigmentation here and there. We tried to make the skin look like real African skin and make it lighter in places where it should be lighter and darker in places where it should be darker. Because I don't know if you guys have seen, but Black women aren't well represented in the digital sphere, even when it comes to film, like Disney and Pixar films. We don't really see a lot of um, Africans, let alone Black women, or Black women, let alone Africans. And when we do see them, they often have a particular look, or they're just not, there's not a lot of diversity in that regard. So we wanted to represent Muji as typical Black woman, complete with the quote unquote flaws and all, everything included. And we wanted to use that to really redefine people's ideas and stereotypes on the average Nigerian woman and Black woman at large. So this is one of Mojirade's greatest strengths, is that she puts her culture at the forefront. She's not ashamed of it, and she's well represented within it. As we start to create more content, we'll see Mojirade trying out different foods from different cultures, but most especially within her own culture, going places and just being a Nigerian. Then the other half of it is the digital diversity, and this just explains how Mujirade can blend in amongst these different fields. The fact that she's virtual means that she can be converted into, she can utilize AI tools, she can also utilize extended reality tools. Actually, one of our goals for Mujirade is to be able to have her be integrated into the real world as if she's a real person. So an example of that is this third image here. I did a quick test to put her in a real environment to see how it would look. And this was a very, very rough test, but you can see that it's still relatively seamless. It still looks like she's actually in that environment. So it takes a lot of resources to be able to do this very well. But the fact that she's virtual means that the limitations for how we can use digital tools are very low. There are low limitations for a character like her. So, oh, just a second, Monica, my colleague does not have this link. I was wondering if you could pass it to him.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sorry. So just carrying
No
on.
problem.
So one of the things we wanted to do with Mojirade as well is be able to create clothes for her and then have other people wear those same clothes, or have brands give us clothes and then she can wear those clothes. And that will most likely be done via AR, so augmented reality. So Mojirade also, we also have a plan to somehow gamify her. So it doesn't necessarily mean making our own game, but implementing her into a game somehow. For instance, Fortnite now has this creator platform or something. It allows people to create things within the game. That's an opportunity to introduce Moji and have her actually be a playable character in there, you know, things like that. So she's very digitally diverse, what I'm trying to say. And then the final one here is facial recognition and mocap. This is a quick test that we did for facial recognition. You can see the person in the background is moving with the same, it has the same motion as Mujirade, or rather Mujirade has the same motion as the person in the background. Here we've used a different version of Mujirade. This is a meta-human and it's native to the software Unreal Engine. So this is actually a a more realistic version of Mojirade, and we plan to release this version once we have finished, sorting out the facial mocap and making sure everything looks as it should. But this is basically her next phase. And once we get the facial mocap done, I mean, Mojirade will be able to do live videos. She'll be able to finally speak. Actually, the girl in the background is the voice of Mojirade, or will be the voice of Mojirade. So it's very exciting what the future holds, and yeah, it's looking good so far. Now, womanhood in the digital age is changing. So modern womanhood to me means breaking boundaries. At the moment, there's a lot of things that women are achieving that we have not achieved in the past couple of years. It's about agency. Like women today have the freedom to shape their lives according to their aspirations, whether that's like career or family or personal development. And womanhood especially embraces diversity in experience and expression, celebrating strength, vulnerability, individuality. Individuality especially is a big, big, big one. And it's something that we also want to show in Moji's content. We want to show that she's her own woman. She makes her own rules. She does her own things. And she doesn't conform to the standards that women have been held to for years and years. So that's part of what we're trying to do with her as well. But generally, women these days are doing a lot better, in my opinion, that we have done for the past couple of years, at least when it comes to agency, taking autonomy, you know, doing things ourselves without the need for other people. And of course, it comes with challenges, comes with a lot of challenges, um, especially in a field like this. In the tech field, I think women are a bit underrated. People still think that it's a very highly male-dominated field, and that's just not true. A lot of women are doing things behind the scenes. People just don't get to see that a lot. So they assume that women are not at the forefront of tech, but we really are. And that's what we're trying to change with the promotion of Mojirade and of Redmur, because Redmur has a female CCO, and that in some areas is a big deal. So we're trying to make that more common. And in the process of doing that, we're trying to help women reach opportunities, as many opportunities as they can, because the more we do that, the more we redefine how women are seen and represented, not just in the digital age, but in real life as well, because it will trickle down eventually. So, what does the future hold? The future of virtual influencers is very, very good. It's looking good. I mean, the prospects are very high. As I mentioned earlier, there are a number of virtual influencers that are already making waves and doing really well. I mentioned Lil Michaela, Emma Brown. We have a South African one called Kim Zulu. She has actually done some brand deals with Puma and Nike. Oh no, just Puma and another brand that I can't quite remember. But the future of virtual influencers is looking really bright. Again, virtual influencers have they lack the limitations that real people have. They don't have to worry about location, availability. They're basically pawns, but they look like real people and they act like real people. They have their own personalities. And the fact is that the younger generation doesn't really care if they are real or not. They're exciting, they're interesting, and they could be as simple as they could be just like a very stylized character that doesn't even look real. But when they have a personality and an identity, people would pay attention to them. We've seen that happen. I mean, one of the most popular virtual influencers is actually not even a human being, it's a sausage. It's a 3D sausage, but it has millions of followers because it creates short videos, short funny clips that people watch. It has its own personality and everything. So the future of virtual influencers is very bright. They are data driven, and one of the values of virtual influencers is how personalizable, how easy they are to personalize, basically. I couldn't find the right word there. But they're very easy to personalize, very easy to customize. People can make their own virtual influencers that are after them and basically create lives for those virtual influencers online, almost like an alter ego. So it's very exciting. And as VR, virtual reality takes off, that would also be incorporated, virtual influencers be incorporated into the VR world as well. So the future is bright for them. As for women, um, the opportunities that are available right now in the digital space are rife. There are so many opportunities, but we have to grab them. Otherwise, again, you know, they'll be more, I guess men, it'll be given to men, basically, is what I'm trying to say. There are lots of opportunities, but I think there's some things that women need to do, more women need to do anyway, to be able to grab these opportunities when they come. And some of those things are be getting educated on the digital space, learning skills, computer skills, as well as just digital skills, um, getting on the bandwagon when it comes to new trends like AI. I know that AI is quite controversial. People we feel like it's not real art, but that's when it comes to art specifically. But AI tools that can help speed up digital processes are available. Some of them are free, they're very accessible. And I think not just learning specific tools, but learning kind of how AI works can be so valuable to most women. And of course, skill development is important. Redmore is currently working with a brand called Credence to provide a couple of people, like a handful of people with 3D training, 3D production training. So by the end of the course, they will be able to create a character, put some clothing on the character, and have the character maybe do like a walk down it through an environment. So very simple, but it gives them the foundation, the basics they need to then learn further. Also builds their skills, helps them be good artists, and also helps them think technically, not just creatively. Another thing that's very helpful, I mentioned it earlier, but it was building digital communities. It's so valuable because I think more than ever now, we need to help each other and we need to network because I don't know, it's self-explanatory. Building communities these days is how people end up promoting their brands and all that. With crowdfunding, things like that are very helpful when you already have a digital community going. And of course, sustainability and innovation is important. One of Redmore's main goals when we first started was making fashion more sustainable and more accessible to the average person. And sustainability these days, because of how the economy is very valuable to brands. So generally, that's a very valuable asset or quality to have. And innovation is also obviously very valuable. Currently at Redmond, we're doing our best to try and find different ways to make our facial mocap work. It's working, but we want to go further. And that involves improvising, but also talking to people about how to do things here and there, how to create specialized tools that we can use. And that all falls under innovation. And I found that in the tech space, innovation is particularly important because if you know how to problem solve, you're a good asset. So yeah, I feel like if more women anyway are able to do these things, then we'll be more likely to grab opportunities when they do arrive. So in conclusion, Mojirade is, sorry about the background noise. Mojirade is very new in her field. And we expect that by this time next year, she'll be doing much better. And we're really excited for what the future holds, not just for virtual reality, virtual technology, but for women in general within the tech field. So yeah, you can contact us on Instagram, on Twitter or X, on Facebook, and via email. So I'll just leave this up for a while and then we can take questions. Thank you.